The problem for a lot of people, in my opinion, who are idea people, there are a lot of idea people too. There are a lot of brilliant people that have all sorts of ideas and, gifts and talents. Most of them lack the execution ability to push those ideas out, to put the volume of work out. You should not pick more than you can execute. Okay, so it's like you can't have 50 different things and then not execute on any of them. Okay, the actual formula for success was, one, position yourself in the right area, industry, and two,
Most people don't fail because they lack ideas. They fail because execution feels impossible. My guest today believes that excuse is officially dead. Alex Mehr is a serial entrepreneur who has launched over 20 products, sold a company for hundreds of millions of dollars, and is now the CEO of Famous.ai, a platform designed to help everyday people turn ideas into real apps and products without engineers, coding, or massive budgets. In this conversation, we talk about why perfection kills momentum, how failure actually accelerates success, and how AI is finally making entrepreneurship accessible to people who have vision but not a technical background. If you're tired of sitting on ideas and ready to move, this episode is going to light a fire. Well, Alex, it's awesome to have you on the show. I can already feel the energy, but I guess what I'll start with, I gave the bio, but how would you describe what you do and why is that so important to the world today?
Yeah, I think the best way to describe it is we want to make AI helpful to people, and particularly entrepreneurs. That's sort of like the overall theme. And I'm hoping AI is going to have a lot of negative too. Okay, everybody knows that. But I'm trying to offset some of that by making it more helpful so people can use it to build cool stuff. So that's sort of the high level. My background is like I'm a tech entrepreneur. I've been a tech entrepreneur for a long time. And because of that, I've seen a lot of technology. So I'm gonna use that skill set, and I'm gonna grab this beast, and I'm gonna package it in a way that people can use it. That's sort of high level. Does it make sense?
Makes sense, but I will put myself on the skewer here. I am not a tech background guy. Tech would be, if you were to ask anybody that knows me, it would be not one of my greater strengths. But what I was reading and some of the things that I think you do is you help the guy that's not very good at tech to really utilize some of these, AI and some of these amazing platforms. So there's not such a barrier to entry. Is that true?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the idea. So I mean, to give you a little bit of background, when I started as an entrepreneur, after my NASA job, I lived in San Francisco at the time, so I was lucky to begin with because I lived in the middle of Silicon Valley and everything that was happening, and I essentially put all my money into building the first company. This is 2007, so I was like, okay, the app movement is coming about. Apps were not a thing people knew about. I was like, I'm going to build a company that makes apps. Okay, I didn't know exactly what app to build even. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to just get started and figure it out, which is something I sort of advocate, is like be in the right place and start, and you figure out the right idea after. But how do you do that? Back in 2007, this is even before cloud computing. There was no AWS, Amazon Web Services and stuff. We actually literally had physical computers connected to the internet to have websites up. So I put all my money, the little I had saved, I cashed out my 401k, paid all the penalties, and then it was still not enough. So I raised venture capital, and we started building app after app after app, essentially an app every 2 weeks until we hit online dating, and then it blew up. But then going back in time, a lot of people cannot do what I did. So I had technical co-founders. I was in Silicon Valley. I had a little bit of cash to burn. I was single, so I didn't have to worry about feeding my kids, So now I do, but back then I didn't. So I was like, okay, I just, young guy, have nothing to lose, quit my job, drop out of Berkeley, just put everything in. I realized that is not possible for a lot of people. Okay. So then I look at, okay, but what was the actual formula for success? The actual formula for success was one, position yourself in the right area, industry, and two, try idea after idea after idea, like swing the bat over and over again until you have a home run. Okay. So back then, the only way to do it was with engineers, infrastructure, and all that. Now, with AI, you can actually do that without engineers, without infrastructure. You can just, push out idea after idea as product all the time. So essentially, my goal is to use AI to automate what I did and make it available to everybody. So enable a lot more people to become entrepreneurs.
All right. Well, you said a lot there, and I have about a million questions, but
go for it.
I look at right now. So AI, I think I'm using AI a lot. And when I say a lot, compared to some of my buddies, it's nothing. Like they have AI running constantly and they put everything in there and they know how to prompt it so much better than I do. And yet I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job compared to a lot of people I know that just kind of talk to, let's just say, ChatGPT a little bit. And so I guess, how would you suggest somebody taking an average learning curve like myself and say, dude, this is where you're getting it wrong. This is where AI could 100%, be like a co-founder with you or could be part of your executive team. How do we learn how to do this, Alex, if we don't have the background you have, if we don't have that scientific mind? Because those are the questions I have every single day where I see course after course after course, learn this AI. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to run a business. I'm trying to help a lot of companies. I don't have time to go learn all of this stuff. What are your thoughts with that?
I think for the most part, you're actually right in the sense that most AI products need to be easily accessible to people, meaning that their superpower should be unlocked by a normal person. Okay. That hasn't happened yet. That's what this next wave is. And that's the type of things that we're building is we are essentially taking this underlying technology and making it so that a normal person can unlock it. In general, I think all these soft skills that are being built around how do you harness AI to do a particular task is going to become obsolete in a couple of years anyways. So you can just wait it out. Yes. So I think this whole shebang around, I'm going to here's a secret prompt that does blah, blah, blah. Yes, there's some of that. But you will have specialized AI tools and also better generalized AI tools that don't need it anymore. And that's the next wave, in my opinion. It's actually happening right now. Specialized AI tools in the sense that it does one thing and it does that one thing really well. Okay. Like Famous.ai is an app builder, website builder. It's all it does. Okay. So just explain things in English. It doesn't tell you about the weather, even though if you ask it, it will tell you. But in general, it is built so that you describe your idea and it builds the front end, the back end, the database, connects the APIs, like the whole thing. And it gives you a hosted solution, not a piece of code that then you have to go figure out how to host yourself. Does that make sense? It's like it becomes live. That's an example of a specialized AI. Expect that to happen to your tax software, to your accounting software, to your customer support software. So it doesn't require any skills. That's why I'm I hear all these people who are pushing on the edges, but what they're doing is going to be eventually productized and available to everybody. Okay. So that's on that side. On the general AI side, we also build general AI products. And essentially my whole goal is to remove the need to prompt like a pro. So it should be able to read your mind, essentially, and know what you want and do the thing that this other person is doing by prompting itself. Okay. So that's another frontier I'm working on. But overall, I think all these tricks, so to speak, to make AI to do what you want to do is essentially going to go away.
Yeah. So building an app, I've always wanted, I have about a million ideas of apps that
Right.
I'm like, gosh, this would be incredible. But I'm sitting on one right now. And I like, people ask me about the morning routine I do all the time. And I have, here it is, man. Like I give it out to people all the time, but it's not in a, I have to walk them through it, or here's a video, go watch this. And so I'm like, gosh, if I could just build this app. The challenge was always, I don't know how to code. So then I'm going to spend like $250,000 to do this app. What I'm hearing you say is, again, I'll be the dummy. I can go in there and dictate or type to Famous.ai and go, this is what I want. This is what I want it to accomplish. This is why it's so important to, to the world that I get this out. And it goes to work, and it doesn't cost me $250,000. Like, is
No,
that?
no, no. It's that's exactly what I'm saying. In fact, if you have it written somewhere, like in a PDF or something, you can drop the PDF and you can say, "Hey, build an app for this." It'll read the PDF, and or if you have a URL website for it already, it reads a URL, book, anything. So it will literally do that with two prompts. So, so that's what I'm saying. Where the new paradigm of entrepreneurship lies. It's not like, okay, let me step back for a second. So if you look at the history of the most prolific people that shaped the trajectory of history, people whose name we remember, from Leonardo da Vinci to Vanderbilt to Picasso, to Elon Musk today, what is in common? Thomas Edison, all of them, Mark Twain, right? So all of these guys had a huge volume of work that they put out, just quantity, okay? They put a lot out. It wasn't like, oh, they had one idea and then they sat on that idea and then they eventually became really, successful. No, they put a lot out until eventually things started working. That is the pattern across every successful human I know. They are high volume producers. Okay. The problem for a lot of people, in my opinion, who are idea people, there are a lot of idea people too. There are a lot of brilliant people that have all sorts of ideas and, gifts and talents. Most of them lack the execution ability to push those ideas out, to put the volume of work out. Okay. So my thought here is, if I can reduce the barrier for execution significantly, make it easy, like your app idea, you don't just have that one idea. If I allow you to execute that one idea, your brain will be filled up with 10 more ideas you can do, now that you've seen one go through. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that, I think, is the virtuous cycle that I'd like to see enabled. It's like there are a lot of people like that. So they have a unique gift, they have a talent. All of us, because of our life path, we have our own little gift that we don't know how to productize. We don't know how to offer it to the wider world. So it's kind of like Picasso with the first painting idea sitting in his head, but he doesn't know how to paint. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so if I make the process of painting super easy using AI, so they put then they look at it like, oh, this is not quite right. Let me make it this way. Okay. Then they go with another idea because the brain starts flowing. Okay. And that's actually how I operate. So if I have an idea that's sitting in my head, I think of it as like it's a blockage. Okay. So when I push it out is when all of a sudden more ideas find themselves in. I don't know why the brain works. At least my brain works that way. It's like, it's just when I push ideas out, more ideas come in. It's never going. That's why we have a product portfolio, because I'm constantly pushing products out. And then I have new ideas. And I'd like a lot of people to be in that state where they're not blocked by execution of the idea. If I remove that block, they will come up with 10 more ideas. And that is how you enable people to be creative, like awesome people. I don't know if Picasso was an awesome person, but definitely changed the scene of art quite a bit. But maybe Leonardo da Vinci is a better example.
Yeah, I don't know either, but they clearly changed the world. That makes a ton of sense to me, because you're right. I think creativity breeds more creativity. And as you're saying, it's like, when you start to put it out, it's kind of like journaling is what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have people all the time. I'm like, just journal. They're like, I don't know what to write about. Well, anybody that's done it, the moment you start writing, it just goes, man.
Flows.
And
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things you said, because this is all the awesome things, right? AI is making our world, I think, faster, easier in some regards, right? I think again, for those of us that maybe don't pick up on the tech as fast, your technology, that's beautiful. That, you know what, this is accessible to everyone is really what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
But you also mentioned maybe there's some not so positive things that are coming our way with AI. Is it dire straits? Is it the dystopian, like we're going to have 40% unemployment? Like, do you think it could even get to that point? I'm just curious because I don't get to have this conversation very often with
Mm-hmm.
people to say, okay, what is the downside of what we're growing and doing so fast? So what are your thoughts on that?
There's definitely going to be a downside. Um, but it's going to be one of those mixed. So I don't buy to the dystopian version at all. Okay. And I don't buy into the utopian version either. Okay. The reality in my life experience, and if you look at history, it's always the case. Things are not as bad as they make it sound, and it's never as good as they make it sound. It's always like a mixed bag in the middle. Okay. So I think it's going to create winners and losers. Okay. That's the gist of it. Um, it's going to be a positive sum game, meaning as a whole we will progress, but then some areas will progress a lot more, some areas will regress, and then but net positive. Okay, so some pain I think will exist. Um, I think this is what's going to happen. Um, Repetitive tasks are going to be displaced. So there's this idea that, okay, if I'm into something, like I have a hobby or something, but it doesn't make me money, I can go get a 9 to 5 job and do this repetitive thing to just give me enough money so I can pay attention to my hobby or my interest. Okay. I think that is not going to be the case, because all those half-ass, oh, I just do this thing because it's a job, it's repetitive, it's not gonna exist. The good news is I think people can turn the market for ideas and services is going to explode substantially, because people can now execute their actual ideas a lot easier. So in other words, I think people who are able to upgrade their brains, I tell that to my engineers, by the way, this is like internal. So we don't have junior engineers anymore, because nobody needs to write like every little line of code. AI does a lot of code writing. But it doesn't mean I don't have engineers. It frees my engineers to elevate themselves, upgrade themselves to the highest and best use of their brain, which is, I look at it and I'm like, doesn't make sense. For the user, that doesn't make sense. This can look better. I don't like the vibe of this. Let's change this. So essentially the job of sitting in front of a keyboard and writing lines of codes, gone. Okay. But the job of the engineer, a new job is created, which is now you sit on top and like, oh, this product, let's build it this way, let's shape it this way. And the demand, I don't buy into this. I'm an abundance mindset type of person. So I'm like, there is no reason for demand to be capped. We are always supply capped. Okay. So we're like, okay, if the demand is there, if more people are creating, more demand, more market opens up. So it's a matter of like, okay, so are you able to come off of this? Okay, my job is to wrap sandwiches, okay, or take phone calls, put them on a calendar. All right, so it's that is gonna go away. So I don't know what to tell you, but if that is your job, think, okay, so what is the in your brain? You have different levels of cognitive abilities. Unlock the higher tier of your cognitive abilities, and whatever it is. And people have very different, distinct, unique talents. And I hope people really go and search for that. And they unlock that, because that is not going to get replaced. In fact, it's going to be amplified. That's why I said it's a net positive. So yeah, that's sort of my high level viewpoint.
So the sandwich wrappers of the world, what I heard is, look, your job's going to be obsolete in the foreseeable future. We don't know how long. I
Mhm.
mean, it could be a year, it could be 2 years. I mean, the future's moving pretty fast, right?
Right.
At the book, The Future's Faster Than You Think, I think that came back in like 2019, and we've arrived at a lot of the stuff they were talking about. I think that was
Yeah.
Diamantis' book. Um, okay, so those people, their job's going to be obsolete. Now, would you use AI to help unlock your creativity? Because one of the things that I
Yes.
think, yeah, tell me about that, brother, because I think that's what I love about you. And I'll just use ChatGPT for simplicity. I
Go for
use
it.
that probably the most just because it's right there. And my typing skills suck now because I dictate everything into chat. Then it
Mhm.
does something, then I fix it, and then I send off an email. But my question is, how would somebody just talk, like put in, like, this is what I love to do, this is my skills, this is what I'm looking for, and just let it come back to you? How do you
Yes.
suggest people to do it?
Okay. So if you don't have an idea, I actually have done this on live calls with people. People are surprised. So if you actually tell ChatGPT or any other AI platform, this is what I do, and give me top 10 ideas of what I can launch easily, it gives you good ideas. Okay. Now, would those ideas succeed? The probability of each one of them succeeding is probably 1 in 10 to 115. To give you like actual stats, in this company in the past 2.5 years, I've launched 20 or 21 products. 7 of them are alive and they have revenue. Okay, so my hit rate is 1 in 3. So someone who's starting, it's logical to say their hit rate is 1 in 15. In fact, when I started Zeus in 2007, yeah, I built like 15 apps probably before one hit. So think of it that way. It's a game of numbers, but it's not blind numbers. It's not like, oh, I'm going to just not learn from the previous experiment and just launch like blindly. No, you learn and you launch and you're wrong again and you launch and you learn from it and you launch. And as long as you survive through those idea iterations, eventually you find something that you get traction. We can talk about actual practical methods. I have a lot of tips on that if you want. But you go through actual coming up with these ideas, and ChatGPT can give you the first 10, but it doesn't matter because by the time you start executing on one, your brain will backfill with 3 more. And then by the time you are into number 2, your brain will backfill exactly like the example you use for journaling. If I use pen and paper myself, I'm old school like that. So so I write things all the time, and then after I think about it more or I launch it, it doesn't sound like a good idea, or I test it, it might be a feature. I literally tear the page from the notebook and throw it away. And it just the next one flows. So it's a flow. You need to go in a state of flow with entrepreneurship. It's not like, oh, I'm like Buddha, sit under a tree, think for 1,000 years before I come up with the perfect idea. It doesn't work that way. You need to go into a state of flow. And once you're in it, you will not have the problem of not having ideas. In fact, you will have the opposite problem. She's like, damn, I have too many things I want to try. And there's not enough time and people to push through. So once you're in there, you're in the flow. You're like, okay, now I'm doing this. Now I'm going to do that. And it's not complete chaos, even though I make it sound like it. It's really controlled chaos, which is like I'm creating chaos to fish out what's a good idea and pull it out. So that's sort of the feel. At least that's the feeling that I feel. I'm like, it's always controlled chaos. I'm like, I'm introducing chaos. I'm throwing the flames out there to see what kind of feedback I get, and then I go and like hunt whatever I need to hunt. So that's sort of the state of flow.
I love it. My wife hates controlled chaos that I constantly throw because she's so type A. But I love the idea. It's like, look, let's see what actually, because the first idea is probably not the best one, right?
No,
It never is,
it
and
never is.
neither
No
is
company
usually the
is like
second.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Um, how do you take? So we built something kind of cool, or we think it's going to be cool. From a marketing perspective, this, and maybe AI has an answer for this. I don't know. I'm curious because for me, again, one of my strengths, I think content I'm good at. I got that piece down. It's always been the tech side and then marketing. It's like, man, that is so frustrating. So let's just say we go to Famous.ai, we come up with some cool ideas. Now, how do you actually market this stuff out, Alex? Have you kind of
Yeah,
cracked the code on that too?
yeah. I use a particular method I can explain, but it's not going to be useful to a lot of people. The way I do it is not, it's not replicable easily. So I give you a practical example of a framework that a lot of people can use. So the first thing you need to do is go from concept to a MVP, minimum viable product. So you have your MVP. You're like, okay, looks good to me. I think this might work. Okay, you're probably wrong, but let's say for a second, you gotta try it, right? So you say, okay, I'm gonna try it. Okay, so my I'll talk about my method after because it's like capital intensive, but let's go with it like a someone who's just started. The best approach I have for them is go through your email contact list. And if you've lived a life, if you're more than 25 years old, if you go through your contact list in your Gmail, you have a few hundred to a few thousand people on that list. Scrub that list, ex-girlfriends, ex-wives, all the people you don't want, remove it, remove them. Then either two ways to go about it. Either establish a cadence with a newsletter, you know, or send a nice email and say, hey, I just launched this product and I'm looking for alpha customers who test it out. Okay. And help open to any feedback. Send an email to 2,000 people. I think most people have a few thousand people in their contact list. They don't even know, but they do. So you have a few thousand people, send that email to your MVP and see how many people actually sign up and even better, purchase your product if it's a self-checkout product. And do not listen to people replying back and saying, oh, it's awesome, because that just means they like you. It doesn't mean they like your product. Okay. And I would do that. And again, and if you want to put somewhat of a structure around it, which is what I do, is I position myself as a product laboratory. So my users, my customers who are on my email list, they essentially expect me to be constantly launching new products. Okay. And then I tell them, hey, this is a journey I'm going on. At any point, you can unsubscribe. But I'm going to continue launching cool stuff. And if you don't like it, just don't sign up for it. And I continue launching new products, and I'm pretty upfront about it. I tell people this is a journey. It's not never the perfect product, and we are iterating. And I get people to buy into my journey. If you want, replicate that structure if you'd like, and say, hey, I'm going to go, I'm going to build, depends on what you're trying to build. I really think AI apps are very hot right now, so it's a good place to be, but there are many different places to go. You can say, hey, I'm starting a, studio, playing with a bunch of ideas. It's been a dream of mine. I'm putting myself in the shoes of a first-time entrepreneur. I like to do this, and here I built this. Would be happy to hear what feedbacks you have, blah, blah, blah. And ship your first product to the customers, 1,000 of them, okay? And the rule of thumb is if you convert 8% of them into a sign up and maybe 1% into a paying customer, you have done well. That product has product market fit. It's obviously like very different, depends on the price point and a lot of factors. But in general, like if it is a sub $100 product, if it has self checkout, try to do sub 50. So people can do a impulse purchase. 1% convert, you are onto something. You probably will end up with your first idea at 0.1%, which means you send to 2,000 people and if you have 2,000 people in your contact list, you make two purchases of $50 each, that's $100. That's not enough. Okay, that means your product is below average in terms of product market fit. So once you have established that, then you're ready to scale. And I can talk about scaling, but I think you got to go in steps. You're like, okay, idea to MVP, check. MVP to initial product market fit test, check. It worked. And that's another reason that I say people should do this repeatedly, because your method might be different than mine. You might be posting on LinkedIn. You might be posting on different, social media or whatever. You might go try to sell in person. You need to benchmark your products against your own products. So after you've done it 3 times, you have a benchmark. So now the fourth product, okay, compared to previous ones, is it better, worse, the same? Does that make sense? And you keep going on until you have something that is, and I'm telling you, it's called power law in venture. Venture VCs refer to it as power law. It's like things are like within, if you put them on an Excel sheet, your conversion rates are like within like a flat line. And then you have one product that is at the top. Okay. You're like, aha, found you. Now I'm going to scale you. So that's essentially how I think about it.
Wow. How long does that take you? I'm curious to create this, because one of the things I was reading, it's like, this happens fast, right? It's not,
yes.
This isn't like months or
No.
even years. I think you're talking maybe a couple days.
Days, yeah. So you're talking about building MVP. If it's the first time you're building on our platform, you can go to an MVP 1 day, 2 days.
Wow.
Okay. So then if you don't have an email list, if you want to go with this approach, if you go with LinkedIn and stuff, obviously it's slightly different. But if you want to scrub your email list, clean it up, and some people might need to warm up their email list, whole different conversation. But it's another 2 days, okay? A day, you got to sign up for MailChimp or something like that. I'm going to build a tool for this, by the way. I haven't built it yet. So you go to MailChimp or something like that. You essentially upload a list, whatever tool you want to use, send a list. It's 2 days. How to frame it is a little bit psychology, so you got to really think through it, especially the first one. And people feel awkward, okay? I understand it. Goes away, by the way. That awkwardness goes away. Also, people accept you. So if you have an email list, if you're constantly posting on social media, if you run a lot of paid ads like we do, it's like people, I've been running paid ads from my social media accounts for a decade. So people have accepted it. My friends see my ads all the time. It's nothing that I need. It's like nothing that they need to be comfortable with. So, but it's the first one. I understand people are a little bit like reluctant. They're like, they are overcoming their own emotions. Like another 2 days and then 1 day of analysis. So the whole thing can be done in a full sprint in 1 week.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I'm going to say a word, and I'm curious where you land on this, because one thing with, I imagine, I'm trying to put myself in a day in the life of Alex, because you just literally are like, yeah, I saw a problem. I'm going to go ahead and build a tool to fix that. So I'm going to say shiny object syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
How does that land for you? Because what I'm hearing is that's not as bad as it used to be with the tools that you're using. Like,
absolutely.
So
in fact, yes. So there is wisdom. There's this thing that wise people even say, do one thing and do it right. I fully hear it. I get it. But in life, there are two sides to each story, including those common sense wisdom things. The truth is, you do not know if you're doing the right thing. And I don't know anyone who's lucky enough to find their one thing in the first go. It doesn't happen in reality. Okay. And then I look at history, all the examples I gave you. All those guys had shiny object syndrome. Mm. They all looked at a ton of ideas and they allowed their creativity. So who do you like? Name a person whose name you remember, and I will Go through that person's history, and they've done a ton of very different things. I mean, Michael Jordan picked up baseball and not successfully, but it just tells you that all those people have the tendency to do new things. Okay. Now, the caveat, again, like actual real world is nuanced. The caveat is you should not pick more than you can execute. Okay. So it's like you can't have 50 different things and then not execute on any of them. Okay. In which case you're either Thomas Edison or Elon with massive execution abilities. Okay. But if your execution abilities is not as good as your idea and vision capabilities, then you need to bring your vision down to match your execution ability. Does that make sense? So that's what the common sense is. That's what advice really is, which means it doesn't mean you should do one thing. It just means whatever your execution ability is, bring down your vision to match it. So at least you're executing. That's the actual advice. Okay. Now, if we are constantly giving you tools to up your execution abilities, what happens? You can execute more and more and more of your vision. So that's why I'm like, it's true, but not exactly true. So if you can execute an idea within a week to go to market and test it, why wouldn't you? And even if that idea is okay and somewhat okay, why wouldn't you try a new idea while you're still executing on the past one? In fact, I give you a real life example. Me, myself, as an entrepreneur, when I started the company, online dating company Zeus, that I sold for $250 million. When I started it as a polling company. It was a polling app, okay, a polling widget. And the company itself was even called Pollection. It was poll plus election, Pollection, whatever, like cute play on names. It was doing okay. It was like making a little bit of money. Was it a winner? No. Did I make a good decision in hindsight to pivot and try new things until I found a much bigger opportunity? Hell yeah. Okay. So how can I possibly tell people, find the one thing and stick at it? Because the truth is you don't know if it's the right thing. So do not actually fall for that. It's like, but linearly execute ideas. So have many ideas, execute them. I think that's the sort of middle ground advice.
Yeah, and I think as you're talking, one of the things you asked the question, why not? I think there's a word that stops people, and I think that word is failure. And what I'm hearing, all the people you mentioned, like Elon Musk to Steve Jobs to again Da Vinci, all these people, they weren't afraid to fail. In fact, they were really, I don't know if they're excited to fail, but it was like, yeah, okay, so what? And
so what?
Move,
exactly.
The beat goes on. But I found, Alex, people that they really take that personally. And it's almost like this, oh my God, I put so much work into this and now I failed. I'm a failure. And I'm just going to say, I see this often. In fact, I coach people through this because I'm like, is that true? Why do you believe that? How's that showing up in your life? And those are the questions we ask. But I guess what I would say to you is, obviously, failure does not bother you at all, is what I hear.
No,
yeah.
Not only does it bother me, I advertise it.
Okay.
I
was
literally
that always as like a kid? You're like, yeah.
Look, my background I was a scientist. Okay, so as a scientist, the first thing you learn is that when you do experiments, most likely than not, they're gonna fail. And it's just a thing that comes with the territory. So I not only liked it as a kid, I'm like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to tell you that I may fail. I don't care. In fact, watch me fail and like, it's fine. It's fun. Even right now, I tell my customers, like we do Zoom calls with our customers. I have like 3 mature products in our portfolio, okay, with tens of thousands of paying clients. And I still go on there. I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to do another crazy idea and I'm launching this product and they know that it may not exist 2 weeks from now. It's like a thing I wear. Like, it's like, it's kind of like, okay, give you a specific example. When you watch a movie, okay, no good movie, the hero of the movie makes it without a million setbacks and failures in the middle. That's what makes a movie fantastic. Okay, so if you in the process of a storytelling, you actually say, hey, this is what I want, and watch me. And if you hit, you know step over something and you fail and nobody buys your product or whatever, as long as you keep going, it makes your movie that much more interesting. So not only I say don't think failure is a good thing or a bad thing, I think it's a great way to advertise yourself. It's like, because it makes you interesting. So I would wear it. I'm like, guys, I'm trying this. And if it doesn't work, haha. That's how I would approach it. It's very different than probably a lot of people think about it.
Yeah, and actually, as you were talking, I was thinking about the movie. How many takes did it take to get that movie to look the way it did? It probably
Exactly.
took, I mean, you hear them talking about 30 takes, 40 takes, 50 takes to get that scene to look right. They're just not showing you that because nobody's going to watch a 17-hour movie. It's just way too long. But the truth is, like, they failed and they failed and they failed, and then they finally got it. So pretty interesting.
And by the way, the bloopers they put at the end, and people love the bloopers. That's why I told you the story about how it started as a polling company and it failed, and I pivoted. That's a blooper. So it's there's nothing. It just makes my life story that much more interesting. I have a ton of failures and scars and battle scars and everything to show people, because I'm like, trust me, every way you have failed, I've failed that way 10 times already, and here's a specific example. So I think that is like, have a lot of bloopers. There's nothing wrong with it.
So true. So true. And I think part of it, or what I see in the social media world, a lot of people are trying to put their best foot forward instead of truly being authentic and like show your bloopers. And that's what I'm hearing with you. There's a large sense of freedom I'm hearing from you, where it's like, yeah, man, I put this shit out there and it sucked.
Oh,
that's all right.
I do that all the time.
But I had the big one. I had one or two big ones. I think you sold, 250 million. It's like, I think anybody listening, hey, go suck at something, and then boom, you hit pretty good, and that's okay. That's a good thing.
Exactly. And it's like, we create bloopers all along, as long as it doesn't kill you. That's all I tell people. It's like, failure is great. In fact, it's positive, unless it kills you. Try not to die.
Yeah, my wife actually had a T-shirt at one time, but did it kill you? And the funny part is, if you're wearing the T-shirt, obviously not. What didn't I know enough to ask you, Alex? You're an interesting guy. You're doing cool stuff out there. What do you want to make sure to tell the audience? I know there's a question I didn't ask you that you're like, come on, man, you got to be better than this. I'll put my blooper out there. What didn't I know enough to ask you, so we can share, whatever you that lasting thing we want the audience to hear?
Yeah. What's the downside of this approach? Okay. Here's the downside of it. A lot of people cannot work with you because people have a lot of inertia. Okay. I have dealt with that problem, meaning you try to hire a person, they're like, you're doing something and then you switch direction. Okay. It would happen to people in your team. It will happen broader. Like, my wife doesn't know exactly how to describe my business because every week she talks to me something different. So you can call it a downside. I think of it as an upside. Let me explain why. It rearranges your life with people that are mission aligned. Okay. So it kind of becomes so I bet you the people around you are it's a little bit like, I feel like most people surrounding, it's like trying to swim, but it's trying to swim in tar, because people around them act as resistance in every movement that they have, right? So if you go with the approach of completely free flowing, I'm here put on this planet Earth to put maximum amount of work that comes out of my brain. Okay, it's like, it's your life mission. I'm like, I have my family I take care of, and then after that, I'm gonna make sure I squeeze as much out of my brain as I can to leave for the next generation, leave a legacy. Okay. Even if legacy doesn't matter to you, it's just like you like that feeling of creating and making an impact. The world around you immediately becomes tall. So it's like everyone around you is like, oh, you were doing this. Why not keep doing that? I'm like, I'm doing that, but there's this other thing I want to try as well. It's like my life is limited. We all die. So while we are on this planet, I want to do maximum. So the downside, like I said, is that the world around you starts creating resistance. You lose some people. But the upside is after doing it for a while, two things happen. One, the right type of people appear in your environment. Okay. So the right type of builders and creators. Two, you become known as that person. So you get permission to do it. Like even from other people, like my wife, my parents. So I think that's why I say, I feel why people resist these, why people cannot pull it off, because their world kind of restricts them. And I'm like, trust me, just push through and it becomes easier as you do it. So I think that's one message I want to tell people is like, and maybe the reason I started this podcast is I think the world of entrepreneurship has significantly expanded. More people can execute their ideas, which is great for the world. And it shifted from execution people to like visionary people. So good news for visionary people, less good news for like operational people. so it's like, if you're a visionary, that's good news for you. And do not be afraid. Do not hold back. We are put on this planet to make a difference. Let's go.
Love it. I love that. Stop swimming in tar. Go find your water. There, you'll be in flow. Like
yes.
that all makes sense to me, brother. It does. I'm guessing, Alex, it's pretty easy to find you with what you've been building. Obviously, failure. Excuse me. Famous.ai is where to find what you're working on now. But is there any other place, the audience, if they want to connect with you, do more with you? Where would that be?
Instagram at Dr. Alex, and doctor is spelled out. So at DOCTOR Alex on Instagram.
Perfect. Well, brother, thank you. It's fascinating. Again, it's I love what you're doing because you're helping people like me that don't have that tech bone in their body, but I want to impact the world as much as possible, and you're making that happen. So thank you, brother.
Thank you for having me.
If there's one message to take from this conversation, it is this. The world no longer needs your ideas, it needs your action. Alex made it clear that execution is no longer reserved for the technical elite. The tools exist, the barriers are falling. The only thing left is the decision to move. So if this episode sparks something in you, don't let it fade. Share this with someone who needs permission to start. Subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss conversations like this. And most importantly, take one idea you have been sitting on and put it into motion this week. You can find Alex and what he's building at Famous.ai and on Instagram at Dr. Alex. Winning is not about waiting. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about choosing to act when the moment is uncomfortable. Let's go win. Let's get started today. I appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon.